serious situation. We have spent a lot of time out there in the state fairgrounds. We're very familiar with the organizers, we're familiar with the people who run the state fair, and from looking at the grim looks on their faces, we know that it's a very serious situation. In just a few minutes, we should learn more from the chief keepers at Sheriff Harrison, and I've been told that they're about to come out as we speak. Right now, we're seeing Brian Long, he's the public information officer for Department of Agriculture.
Good evening, and thanks for coming out on short notice. At 9:17 tonight, a call came in from the city on the lower Midway about an injured person in that area. Almost immediately, the number of injured that were reported rose. That number stands at 5. The initial reports were that something had happened on a ride called the Vortex, which is located on the lower Midway. We also refer to it as the old Midway. That's the original Midway here at the fairgrounds. That ride was located, or is located, between gates 4 and 5 on that portion of the Midway. Within a minute of that call, the first ambulance arrived at the location. 2 other EMS trucks were there within 2 minutes, and then we brought in additional trucks from off-site. By 9:37, all 5 of the injured persons had been transported off the fairgrounds, and I am told that they were taken to Wake Med. And within 20
Live from the Triangle, this is WNCN News at 11.
Breaking news from the State Fair. 5 people injured on a ride called the Vortex. They're briefing us right now.
To begin processing the scene, the ride inspector, a ride inspector from the Department of Labor, was on scene at 9:32. At our request, because we are actually located in the county, because of the resources that they have available, the Wake County Sheriff's Office has assumed lead in the investigation, and of course we have here with us Sheriff Donnie Harrison. And he is going to make a few remarks. We also have representatives from our Public Safety Office and the Department of Labor and EMS here as well. I'm going to ask Sheriff Harrison if he would come up. I do want to say that this has shaken all of us a little bit, and we definitely have these folks in our thoughts and prayers tonight. And with that, I'm going to ask Sheriff Harrison to come up.
Guys, there's not a whole lot I can tell you because you know it's preliminary. It happened so fast. There were 5 people ranging in age from 14 to 39. Some of them were family members, but we don't know how the connection would be yet. We have about 35, 40 people that our investigators and officers are talking to at this time that may have witnessed it or may have seen something that would help us. The preliminary is that the ride had stopped and they were fixing to offload when it started off again. That's preliminary. I know you're going to ask that question, so that's what we have at this time. It's going to take quite a while to talk to all these people, and we have the ride operator and all the people that were working on the ride being interviewed at this time. One of the injury injured persons was one of the ride operators helping out at the time.
Sure, go over that one more time as to what preliminarily happened.
Preliminary has told me that the ride had stopped and they were fixing to offload when the ride started off again. And like I say, that is preliminary. So, Joel, do you have anything? We are working with Department of Labor. Department of Labor has their people here. We're treating it as a crime scene just because of the investigation, because there were injuries. But they also will be, they're the ones that inspect the rides. They're the ones that will be talking with us. They're the ones that will be looking at what may have happened. Was it a malfunction or whatever it was?
And Chuck, you had said the victim from 14 to 39. What are their conditions right now?
The only thing I can tell you, said it was 2 serious injuries. That's preliminary to, this. Anytime something like this happens, you get a lot of rumors that there was 2 in serious condition. The other 3 were not in that bad of shape. Now, what does that mean? I don't know.
Perhaps this is a question for you, Brian. How often are these rides reviewed? Is that a daily basis?
That's actually a question for the Labor Department to answer. That's their jurisdiction.
And that's one of the...
Step to the mic if you don't mind. The question is how often are these rides inspected?
The rides are to be inspected 3 times daily, and that is something that they will be looking at as part of the investigation. Right now, the local officials have control of the site. Once they turn that over to the Elevator and Amusement Device Bureau, that's one of the things they will look at to ensure that the ride did have its 3 daily inspections.
And what are the times for that? Because we have reports of people saying they saw smoke in the day on this particular vortex ride. At one point, other people saw this stopped. So what are the time frames?
Again, at this moment, this all has happened so fast, I don't have those types of details. As soon as I do, I'll be glad to share. But that's the Bureau Chief of the Elevator and Amusement Device Bureau is over there, and as soon as they gain access to the site, they will be looking at those records, and then I will have more information to share with you. But they will be looking at the diagnostics, all the safety systems, and any piece of that ride to determine if it was indeed a malfunction of the ride. So we're not going to speculate until we have a chance to look at it.
The last time anything like this ever happened here in the paper, I think that would be a question for Chief Keith or Brian.
It was back in 2001, I believe. 2002.
I've been here since 2006. We've not had anything since 06.
Nothing.
It was, I believe it was back in 2002. A ride operator was hit by the pendulum of a ride, and that was the last major accident at the North Carolina State Fair.
In terms of the state fair, in terms of it moving forward, it will be business as usual tomorrow, minus this particular area?
That's a good question, and I honestly don't have an answer for you right now. We have been trying to gather information about what happened tonight, and we will obviously, after we finish up here, be having conversations about what we do going forward with regard to that area and the rest of the fairgrounds. But right now I really can't give you a definitive answer on that.
Sheriff Harrison, preliminarily, your investigation starts now. Any idea of when you might know exactly what happened out there?
No, I can't give you a time frame because, like I say, we've got the scene locked down now to take as many pictures and do whatever we can. And let me say this, if we think we got most of the witnesses that was in that area, but when you guys televise this or put it out, if there was somebody with a cell phone or something, happened to be video, and they do that all the time, if they would contact us, it may aid us in seeing what actually happened along with what we have. But going back to your question, we'll do our investigation. We'll turn it over to them, and then we'll all get our heads together to see. It appears to be an accident, and things does happen. Like Brian said, we hate it because this is supposed to be a fun time for the families, and like I say, I think some of these were family members, so they're certainly in our thoughts and prayers.
Can anyone describe for us what this vortex ride does, what it looks like? Do you have any idea of this ride and how people might visualize it? I know during continuing coverage of this incident. We've been giving people an idea of what this ride looks like, but if somebody can actually give us an idea of what it looks like, what happens on that ride, that would give some questions an opportunity to and Sheriff Harrison, when you think of a night like tonight, you said this is a fun time for many families, and what do you say to reassure families as we move forward?
Well, it's, accident happens. I mean, we can do everything in our power. It's just like a car accident, anything. You never know when they're going to happen. But I can assure the public, just, my grandson will be out here tomorrow riding. That's his day. We will be extremely careful. Everybody will have this on their mind. And I know the ride inspectors will do their due diligence to make sure everything's going. But, as sad as it is, we want people to come out and have fun. It'll be safe. And we'll do everything we can to make it safe for the families that come. And the main thing is keep those that got hurt tonight in our prayers.
I know this is how many of the 5 were children?
I don't know. The youngest one I was told was 14, and the oldest was 39. And I'm not sure about the other ages, but it fell in between. So I think the other one was probably in their 20s.
Can you or the Labor Department spokesperson just go into exactly the procedures that happen now as far as making sure these inspections are happening correctly? Or what do you look at to see what happens with this?
Once they take control of the site, they're going to look at every piece of the ride to determine exactly, if there was a malfunction to the ride. They're going to look at the diagnostics and all the safety systems of the ride. And, like I said, until they do that, I cannot speculate about exactly, what happened and what went wrong with the ride.
Do you know if this particular ride has had issues with other fairs or cars?
I do not know that at this time.
I can tell you, we'll be looking at all the records, looking back in our investigation to see if it's been a problem or has been a problem. And like she said, we don't know. It could be operator error. We don't know, and we're not going to speculate. Like she said, we want to make sure that we do our thorough investigation along with them, so we can come back and tell you guys and everybody else what happened, and we want to be accurate about it.
Is there any indication of how the riders were injured, whether they were struck or thrown into the air or something?
I don't know the answer to that until we put it all together.
Once again, Sheriff, for people who are just tuning in, give us an idea of the condition of the 5 people that you referred to.
What we were told was that 2 were serious, maybe critical, and the other ones were, I won't say minor injuries, but they were not as bad.
And the information that we read from witnesses will determine, will let you know how these injuries occurred, whether or not they fell or hit.
Right. When we, like I say, we have 35, 40 people, maybe more, that were standing around the ride. We have the ride operators, everybody that was involved with the ride, plus the people that were on the ride. We have them also. So when we talk to everybody, we'll find out that common denominator of what happened.
Sure. You had asked about cell phone video, and I know that you installed those new surveillance cameras, or there were new surveillance cameras installed here. You can sort of get a grasp of what happened from the fairgrounds. Have you been able to look at that?
We will look at that. That's something we've already started. We'll pull all that up to see if we captured anything, but at this time, we haven't had time.
Once again, Sheriff, you're asking for anyone who may have had cell phone video to contact you?
That's correct. If anybody, a lot of times people will just take videos because of the lights and the sounds. If someone happened to be doing that, we would like to look at it because it would help us or may help us down the road.
Can we get names?
Sure.
Say it's like first and last name.
Sorry, Brian Long, BRIANLONG, with the North Carolina State Fair.
Dolores Quessenberry. Dolores Quessenberry, Communications Director at the North Carolina Department of Labor.
How do you spell that?
DOLORES QUESENBERRY. Okay.
Some type of malfunction, vortex. Sheriff Harrison says.
Y'all good?
We appreciate you coming, and we'll keep you posted.
Stop and actually were unloading the patients on that line.
Okay, so we now will sort of reset here. It's 11:13. We started with the newscast and took you straight out there, but we do have a lot of information.
Yeah, we're just wrapping up from a news conference with law enforcement, a lot of solemn faces out there, an official with the State Fair and a communications person with the Department of Labor. What has happened at the State Fair tonight is the unthinkable, the thing that you most want not to happen. It has happened. There was some kind of malfunction of a ride called the Vortex. We're going to be able to show you video of that. And if you're just coming into this newscast, 5 people were hurt when something went wrong with that ride.
Now, what we do know so far is that there were 5 people within the ages of 14 and 39 years. 2 of them are in serious condition. I want to also inform you that I spoke to an EMS source who is part of the transport process of getting these folks to the hospital. He told us that 2 of the people, they had to rate them on what's called a Glasgow coma scale. It basically shows how serious the injuries were. One of them initially had a GCS, or Glasgow coma scale, of 11, which is a little more serious than a concussion. One of them had a 3, and the lower the more serious. So a 3 in some cases can be considered a near coma or vegetative state. So this could be a very serious injury that we're dealing with right now at the State Fair.
All of the victims were taken to Wake Med, the big Wake Med hospital. The sheriff could not really tell us very much about the nature of the injuries these victims sustained, but we are getting a lot of information into the newsroom tonight, and we'd like to begin our coverage now of what we've been able to get and gather and document news-wise.
Let's start with Tripp Atkinson. He was actually at the fair at the time of the accident. Tripp, I understand either you or some of your friends were either just getting off the ride or not too far away. Can you tell us what you saw and what you heard, please?
Yes, sir. Me and my friends had just gotten off the ride that it happened on, and we walked over to a ride nearby, and we heard a loud bang and didn't think too much of it. And 2 of our buddies ran over and said people had fallen off the ride. So we ran over and went to look at it, and we saw at least 3 bodies laying down on the ground, and they just weren't moving at all, non-responsive.
Okay, Tripp, I understand that one of the people injured was the ride operator. Did you see that person or witness anything from that person?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay, Tripp, we talked to I think your friend Caleb, who actually talked to me earlier, he told us kind of what it sounded like and then sort of what the feel was around the State Fair after that happened. Could you tell us about that?
Oh, it just sounded like banging metal, and then just everybody around the area was just sort of frantic. And then, but as you walked away, other people hadn't even heard about it. They didn't even know what was going on.
Tripp, how soon before you began to see emergency medical people arrive there on the scene to administer aid, or were people who actually work for the fair there to help out the victims?
Well, immediately there were people there trying to give care, and then EMS, ambulances, about 3 or 4 of them came there probably within the next 3 minutes, and they took them off on stretchers, and it didn't look like they were responsive at all.
You know, this is one of the busiest days crowd-wise for the fair. It's when people can get in free, bringing in a certain number of cans. Can you talk about how crowded the scene was? I mean, how were they able to manage crowd control, Tripp?
They got fences and golf carts, and they were pushing people back to get the whole area blocked off for the EMS.
Tripp, I want to ask you something also. You were just on the ride, okay? Not everyone has been on the Vortex. It's a high-flying ride. Can you tell us, sort of at its apex, how high it is off the ground? Because it sounds like these 5 people were ejected potentially from a pretty high elevation.
Most people, there are actually 2 rides named the Vortex. It's not the tall one that all the news are talking about. It's actually on the smaller midway near the Land of Yesteryear. It's an orange ride.
We're looking at it right now.
And they were probably at least 20 feet off the ground when they fell, but I think most of the injuries came from being flung off against the wall.
Tripp, how old are you?
I'm 17.
You're 17 years old. You have never seen anything like this in your life, I would imagine.
No, ma'am.
So how are you coping with what you saw tonight?
I mean, it's just unreal. I can't believe I actually saw it.
Tripp, we want to thank you for your time and just ask you if there's anything else that you have to add, that you saw, that you experienced, that you'd be willing to share with our audience right now.
That's about all I have. Is just can't believe it happened.
Well, you take care of yourself, young man, because you have really been through a lot that many people could conceive as being traumatizing, but we appreciate you being so clear in helping us understand what happened moments after that accident.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so Tripp Atkinson on the phone there, 17-year-old who was very near the accident. Meanwhile, as we continue to gather information, and again, we've got 5 folks injured, 2 of them seriously from a ride called the Vortex, the smaller one at the State Fair.
Yeah.
Pam, meanwhile, you spent some time talking to someone who'd been at the fair during the day.
Yeah, I talked with a man who was near the scene of that ride. He didn't actually see the accident, but Ken Vrana told me he did see the ride operator having one heck of a time locking down the safety bars on the Vortex.
Well, we were out, my wife and I were out at the fair taking some photographs, and just happened to be in front of that particular ride, and I was waiting for them to start the ride so I could get some action stuff. And it's a little bit unusual ride in terms of the way they have to lock people in with one of these bars. And they kept messing with the bars and messing with them, and they couldn't seem to get the thing to lock down. And I got a little bit bored of waiting because I didn't, we were going to move on. And they still ultimately could not get them to lock down, but they started running that ride, and they ran it from 8:45 until the accident. So they knew there was a problem with that ride.
There he is. He says they had to have known there was a problem with that ride. This investigation is really just getting started. The sheriff said that. So the story we hear, it may keep changing, and witnesses' statements could very well change between now and in the morning. But we want to talk to somebody who's right there on the scene.
Yeah, Derek Waller from our reporting team is out there. He has been for several hours. He is on a live view, which is a Wi-Fi connection. There may be a bit of a delay, but Derek, if you can tell us what you're seeing right now.
Well, Penn and Pam, obviously we've been in this room for the last few minutes for this press conference. A tragic evening here at the State Fair. As you've reported, 5 injured, 2 cut seriously. We talked to Brian Long earlier. He's a State Fair spokesperson. He told us this has shaken all of us. And I want to toss to some video that we actually shot on our cell phone a little while ago as we were just arriving on the scene a little while ago when this accident first happened. We saw several EMS and fire trucks racing down the road to this, presumably to this scene. Ages of the victims are 14 to 39. And again, absolutely a tragic scene. I want to toss to a soundbite that we got of a parking attendant who was just across the street from this, and listen to what he heard. Take a listen.
It just sounded like a bunch of stuff hitting metal, and that was it. And then there was no screaming. I didn't hear any screaming and nothing out of the normal on that end, but then all of a sudden we had all of the ambulance and state trooper activity after that.
There you go. And where do we go from this? Well, officials tonight telling us that they are going to be looking through all of the diagnostic information, all of the records for these inspections on this ride to find out what exactly happened here, whether this was a malfunction or human error. Also, we heard from Sheriff Donnie Harrison tonight, who said that, he does believe this is an accident and that he believes that the State Fair is safe. In fact, he says he will be bringing his grandson here tomorrow. Again, a tragic evening here at the State Fair, but certainly a lot of unanswered questions about what exactly happened. I'm live at the State Fair. I'm Derek Waller, WNCN News. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Derek, thank you for all that information. And just to recap one more time, an injury at the Vortex ride in the Old Midway. That's the yellow ride. Some reports saying it could have been as high as 20 feet above the ground. 5 people injured, 2 of them in serious condition, we believe, at this point.
The ages ranging from 14 to 39 years old. And again, as Derek alluded to, it doesn't appear that this accident is going to shut down the State Fair. We know it is a huge moneymaker for our state, and he said he wants families to still come out and have fun. Granted, that could change between now and then, but as far as we're able to determine right here and right now, the fair will continue to operate as usual tomorrow, and we're coming right back after this.
And now your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Wes Hohenstein.
All right, we're going to take a quick break for weather so we can get out and enjoy the rest of the State Fair. Then we'll get back to the breaking news that happened there tonight. But it has been a chilly night. We look at the radar first because there is some rain and snow up in our mountains and in the Virginia mountains. That is not coming here. What we will see from this, maybe a few sprinkles overnight. You have to remember how dry our atmosphere is, so it may look like a lot, but a lot of that is evaporating before it reaches the ground. So maybe some sprinkles overnight, but as you head out the door on Friday morning, it will be dry, clouds will be clearing, and it will be 39 degrees. Now, I say that's not as cold as what we had this morning when we had mid to even lower 30s, but it is still cold, so bundle up. It'll be sunny throughout the day, but it will remain in the 50s all day. Tomorrow is going to be our coldest day of the week. 57 will be our high. That's going to happen about 3. And tomorrow night, whether it's the State Fair or Friday Night Football, will be our coldest night, very quickly falling through the 40s, so make sure you're dressed for that. Out there right now, many of us are in the 40s. In fact, already dropping down to 36 in the far northwestern corner of our viewing area. So a chilly night that isn't going to be as cold as last night because of this cloud cover. Remember, overnight cloud cover acts like a blanket, so not as cold as last night because of the cloud cover. We'll have those sprinkles as we're waiting on yet another cold front to come through, and this is the one that'll bring us our coldest day tomorrow and freezing temperatures by Saturday morning. So out the door on Friday morning, these are the numbers you're going to run into. About 3 or 4 degrees warmer than what we had today. So I doubt a noticeable difference. Still chilly outside. Then during the day, we have mostly sunny skies with a high of 57. Again, our coldest day this week and on the 7-day going forward. But it's Friday night into Saturday morning that we will see temperatures below 32 degrees. So a freeze watch in effect now for Saturday morning because of freezing temperatures that will eventually become a freeze warning. So we will see temperatures in the 50s the next couple of days, guys. 65 on Sunday looks to be the pick day of the weekend, and then we'll race towards 70 by next Wednesday and Thursday. Weather right now for Halloween, which is a week from tonight, looks very nice. That's good news. Yeah.
All right, we're going to come back with more news and updates on that tragedy at the State Fair coming up.